uncertainty in the European business community. We are not leaving China, but we put the foreign direct investment into China on hold as the market turned out to be far more unpredictable. And so we see the sentiment also investigating possible other locations outside China, Southeast Asia, of course, first and foremost, but that's not going to be an easy move.
Yeah, can you just be a bit more specific? I mean, we've obviously seen big companies like Adidas focusing more on Vietnam and manufacturing in other parts of Asia. Where are your members most interested in relocating to?
Well, the big guys in automotive and chemicals are certainly going to stay in China because it needs a certain cluster, a certain ecosystem in order to support them. But I mean, if you're looking to the IT system, you can as well have people in Kuala Lumpur and Bangkok, for example. And then, of course, you have to find out what India is all about. We just had Prime Minister Modi in Germany, and also he did his marketing. And that's what China's lacking. China is behind the Great Wall. Their officials are not traveling outside China anymore and lacking the marketing oomph that they used to have. And our CEOs can't visit China. So, of course, the allure of other markets becomes much bigger than before.
Jorg, having worked in some of these markets many years ago, about 10 years ago, we're having the same conversation about what was the logic of relocating plants and supply chains away from China. And it was a complex equation around logistics, that sometimes it was cheaper out of China, sometimes it was easier out of some parts of Southeast Asia versus others, the reliability of logistics, workers, that sort of thing. Just what makes sense now as we talk about the COVID equation and the handling by some regimes with this zero COVID tolerance policy?
Well, there are many considerations why to move to other markets. One of them is, of course, access, logistics, uncertainty in procurement, which already now leads some companies to go to other marketplaces. Then the second, of course, is cost. Labor cost goes up quite a bit. China's aging. And then you have decarbonization considerations. Many of our big members have global pledges, and China relies still too much on coal, and we are building plants for the next decades. So can we be rest assured that we can fulfill our global pledge by having renewables to the extent that we need? And that's also a big uncertainty. And then at the end of it, of course, you have security considerations in many markets. Pharmaceuticals, for example, battery materials, pharmaceutical precursors. Europeans want to have closer to home, or at least the markets they can control better, because a huge chunk of these precursors comes from China.
Fascinating changes as we talk about the extra layer on top in the decision making. Jorg, can I just pivot the conversation to inflation, because it is the conversation that companies, central banks, governments are having right now. As you look at the supply issues out of China in recent weeks, the lockdowns in Shanghai and that have shifted to restrictions in Beijing, how bad could supply chains be in Europe in coming weeks, and what will that do to the inflation picture?
Well, certainly the lockdown in Shanghai has impacted the supply chain. Ships take 35 days on average to reach Europe, so they pretty much should arrive by now in Hamburg and Antwerp and other places. And of course, it's furniture, it's electronics, it's not only just textiles and shoes. And there will be an increase in pricing. There will be less choices. Anything outside China is possibly going to be more expensive. China has these incredible clusters. And so, yeah, we have to expect price increases or even lack of choices.